Destiny knows your name. Tonight, in this gathering of restless spirits, hardened souls who've tasted rejection yet refuse defeat, I welcome you. You who dared to believe when the world whispered no. You who bore scars like armor. You who, against every verdict, every sneer, keeps rising as though the universe itself conspired to hand you victory. You keep winning like it's rigged, and they can't take it from you. You see them watching. You see the disbelief in their eyes when you step into the arena, unbeaten or battered, but not broken. Their disbelief becomes fury, because every time they said you'd fail, you laughed. Each time they counted you out, you pressed forward anyway. And yes, there's magic there. A dark beauty in your persistence. A fire in your refusal. You keep pulling this off, pulling the impossible from the ether. Feel it now, the weight of every doubt ever hurled your way, the nights of second guessing, hands trembling, breath shallow, and still, you rose. You keep winning like it's rigged in your favor. Not because the universe is kind, because you refuse to settle, because your will is carved deep into stone, because your hunger is relentless. They can't take it from you because you've made winning not an option, but a demand. Because every setback, every bruise, every almost built in you something indestructible. You won't allow defeat to define you. You won't let failure own you. You are not fragile. You are forged in the fire of confrontation. There's a curse and there's a blessing in being that someone unstoppable. The curse, they doubt you. They undermine you. They whisper behind your back. They swear your luck will run out. Maybe they try to cheat. Maybe they hope you slip. But you, listen. You've already broken the mold they tried to trap you in. Every time they built walls, you climbed them or burned them. The blessing, you know what you're made of. You know how deep you can go. You know what it costs to rise. You know the darkness, the fear, the moments you felt too small, too tired. Yet you pressed on, and that pressing becomes your signature. That pushing becomes your map. When the world wants to pit you down, you choose to stand higher. You keep pulling this off, not because it's easy, not because doors opened for you, not because luck favored you, because you wanted it more than comfort, more than peace, more than validation, because your dream was louder than their noise, because you believed even when every sign said otherwise. They ask, how the hell do you keep pulling this off? They think it's secrets. They think it's charmed. They think somebody must have rigged it. They want an explanation, a loophole, an edge. But there is no secret aside from your willingness to bleed, to get back up after every knockdown, the refusal to shrink, the promise you made to yourself that you will outlast every shadow, every skeptic, every moment of despair. You are winning because you walk through fire without letting it burn you, because you stare down your fear and you do it afraid, because you stack your small victories, one after another, until they cannot deny your progress, because you make consistency your weapon, because when others stop, you keep stepping, one foot in front of the other, blood, sweat, maybe tears, but moving. They measure success by grand moments, but you know the war is won in tiny choices made daily. When you decided to show up again, when you decided to keep training, keep studying, keep creating, keep believing, when you decided that yesterday's loss is not today's prisons, when you refuse to carry the baggage of past shame into your emerging greatness, they pit you against odds. They celebrate your failures with whispers. They gift you blame for outcomes you couldn't control. They benchmark you by standards you didn't set. but still you win. Not just because you outwork them, but because you outlast them, because you own your narrative, because you fight with integrity, with purpose, because you align your soul with what matters, not with what's easy. Let them talk about luck. Let them say your path looks easy. Let them underestimate the cost. Let them search for an angle, a cheat, a miracle. The real miracle is your discipline. The real miracle is your refusal to give in to pity. The real miracle is that despite everything you've seen, you kept faith in yourself. Not faith in luck, but faith in your capacity to endure, to cultivate, to transcend. Your wins, they are loud echoes. Every time you rise, someone else thinks twice. Every time you succeed, someone else reconsiders. Every time you pull off something improbable, you shatter someone else's limit. And that's the gift you give. You expand what's possible. You force reality to widen. You keep winning like it's rigged. Because in your mind, you already rigged it. You already set up your mindset that failure was not an option. You built systems. You trained habits. You surrounded yourself with truth, even when it hurt. You embraced discomfort. You accepted pain. You made yourself impossible to ignore. They can't take it because it lives inside you. It's in your scars, your sweat, your early mornings, your late nights, the time you skipped rest, the time you pushed when nobody saw. They can't take it because they were never there in that lonely struggle. They weren't in your gut when doubt sat heavy. They didn't hear your whispered prayers. They didn't witness your silent promise. If the world turns against me, I turn on myself harder. Harder until there's nothing left but victory. Notice this. The people who resent your success lack one thing: commitment. Not to the goal, but to the grind. They want the applause without the fallout. They want the trophy without the bruises. They want the flower without the roots. You don't. You've tasted the roots. You've known despair. Yet you water yourself anyway. You root deeper anyway. You keep winning because you bent the world, not by violence, but by persistence. Not by shortcuts, but by integrity. Not by avoidance, but by confronting what others refuse. You unlearned comfort. You embraced hunger. You rewrote your standards. You chose a way few walk. Yes, there are nights when the doubt hollows your chest. Nights when everything seems against you. Nights when profit seems too far. When success seems too delicate to trust. Nights when you question how much longer. But every time you stand at that crossroads, every time you decide to step forward anyway, that decision births power. That decision becomes proof. You keep winning, not because you've stopped losing, but because you've refused to stay down. Every loss becomes a lesson. Every betrayal becomes a mirror to sharpen your vision. Every failure becomes a rung on your ladder, even if it bruises your pride. They'll try to undermine your victories. They'll try to rewrite your history. They'll twist your failures and forget your effort. They'll celebrate small stumbles more than they recognize steady climbs. But you, they can't rewrite your soul. They can't undo your tenacity. They can't reclaim the resolve you poured out in the silent hours. So own your victories. Let your wins settle into your bones so deeply that when someone challenges you, you feel the memory of the fire in your veins. Let each hard-earned triumph be a fortress against future storms. Let your heart beat with the weight of what you've carried, what you survived, and what, in spite of everything, you built. Relish it. Not because you want pride, but because you deserve recognition. Not from them, from you. Acknowledge how far you've come. Celebrate that the odds didn't bury you, the storms didn't drown you, the betrayals didn't break you. Keep moving, keep pushing, keep winning, because you are not here for comfort anymore. You are not here to seek permission. You are here to break limits, to carve space, to shake foundations. You are here so that when they ask, how the hell did you keep pulling this off? You smile, because you know. You know how many mornings you dragged yourself out. You know how many dreams you've stitched together with sweat. You know how many times you chose hope when giving up seemed easier. They can't take your wins because they were born in struggle. They can't take your wins because they are stamped with your persistence. They can't take your wins because you own the cost. You didn't inherit success. You didn't stumble into victory. You crafted it. You built it. You earned it. So let the darkness test you. Let the silence mock you at first. Let the disappointment sting. Let the doubters whisper. Let every crash of failure echo. But you persist. Persist until your success is undeniable. Persist until your light blinds every skeptic. Persist until the world has no choice but to witness your power. You keep winning like it's rigged, because you rigged your mindset. Because you decided, my pace, my fight, my truth, my win. And nothing in this world is heavier than a conviction rooted in who you are. They can't take it. Let them try. Because what you've built is inside your bones, inside your soul. What you've won is etched in blood, in time, in sacrifice. They can't remove what you have carried. They can't steal the moments nobody saw, the tears, the relentless return. Stand tall, breathe deep. Remember how many times you stepped out when fear tugged you back. Remember how many times you promised yourself one more try. Let that remembrance be your fire. Pose like this. You won't bow, you won't cave, you won't let their disbelief bind you. And tonight, hear this clearly. You are not a lucky shot, you are a force. You are a truth machine that keeps manifesting victories. You are excellence in motion. You are triumph happening, already unfolding. So go. Go with the dark behind you, fueling you. Go with the builders of dreams in your bones. Go with the fear you've swallowed and turned into courage. Go with the scars that map your journey. Go with the knowledge that you keep winning like it's rigged. Because in your mind, in your spirit, in your hustle, it has been rigged. Rigged by purpose. Rigged by sacrifice. Rigged by a relentless refusal to quit. They can't take it. Not now, not ever. Because this is your win. This is your moment. This is your becoming. Watch as the world tries to explain you away. Let them scramble for answers. You know the answer. The answer is you. You keep winning. Because you chose it. Because you earned it. Because you are built for this. Because nothing and no one can stop a soul determined to win. So go ahead, keep winning, keep pulling this off, because when they ask, how the hell, you'll smile, because you know exactly how you did it, and that truth silences every doubter. Tonight you rise, always you rise, and now, listen to the silence behind your name. That quiet pause when they speak of you, unsure whether to call it luck, madness, or genius. That hesitation, that's your impact. That's the aftermath of your resilience. They whisper, they speculate. They try to place your success into a box that makes sense to them. But you broke the mold long ago. They don't know what to call it because they've never seen it. They've never met someone like you. You weren't built for average. You were never designed to blend in. You've always walked that lonely path, the one carved through storms and silence, the one paved with sacrifice. And even when no one clapped, even when no one believed, you believed. You believed because something in you, raw, unshakable, knew that the world needed what only you could bring. They want a formula. They want a 5-step plan to explain how you keep making it work, how you keep breaking through barriers like they were made of glass and not on. But what they don't see is the war that happens behind the scenes, the nights you cry and still show up, the times you hear no, but turn it into momentum, the countless hours you spent building your craft when no one was watching, applauding, or caring. You became something that scares them, not because you threaten them physically, but because your existence proves something dangerous, that no excuse is valid. You are proof that discipline defeats doubt, that persistence overpowers privilege, that heart will always outlast hype. And here's the secret. You keep pulling this off because you're not afraid to fail. You've seen failure so close. You've sat with it like an old friend, and instead of letting it define you, you let it refine you. You used it like fuel, burned it until it became clarity. You don't fear failure anymore because you've turned it into fire. Let them wonder. Let them try to analyze. Let them piece together your puzzle from the outside looking in. But they'll never figure it out because they're missing the most important piece, your why. The purpose that drives you so deep that you'd rather go down fighting than sit safely on the sidelines. That purpose makes you untouchable. That purpose is your edge. And every time they ask, how the hell do you keep pulling this off? Smile, because you know they couldn't survive one chapter of your story. Not the late nights, not the betrayal, not the rejection, not the pressure, not the loneliness of being on a path few are brave enough to walk. They only see the glow. They don't see the grind. But that's fine. You didn't do it for them. You did it because something inside you refused to let your story end in mediocrity. You did it because you saw a future only you could see, and you chased it with everything you had. That's what it means to win, like it's rigged. Not that the odds are in your favor, but that your will is. Not that you had the tools, but that you forged them. Not that the world opened the door, but that you kicked it down when no one would let you in. You made it look effortless, not because it was, but because you made peace with the pain. You made peace with the struggle, and you turned it into movement, into power, into performance, into impact. You are not a fluke. You are not a mystery. You are not a moment. You are a movement, a declaration that adversity is no match for audacity, a reminder that faith in yourself is the most powerful kind of belief. And you keep winning because you never needed permission to begin. You didn't wait for someone to crown you. You built your own throne. You didn't ask to be chosen. You chose yourself. You didn't beg for a shot. You created the opportunity from nothing, even when the world called it impossible. Your story is uncomfortable to watch because it dismantles every excuse. It exposes every shortcut. It demands that others confront what they've avoided, and that makes them uneasy. But that's not your burden to carry. Let them sit in their discomfort. You've sat in yours long enough. Now, it's your time to rise, and you don't owe anyone a breakdown of your process. You don't need to explain your tenacity. Your work is your witness. Your consistency is your explanation. And your victory? That's the loudest truth of all. You want to know the truth? The reason you keep winning is because you learned how to lose. You learned how to rebuild. You learned how to take disappointment and turn it into direction. You learned that resilience is not a feeling, it's a decision. A decision you made over and over again, even when it hurt, even when it didn't make sense. even when quitting was easier. And that decision became your armor. Your mindset became your kingdom. And now, they're wondering how you keep ascending, how you keep evolving. But you know, it's because you never stopped climbing. Even when the mountain seemed endless, even when your legs shook, even when your mind screamed at you to stop, you didn't. You are walking proof that grit outlives glamour, that obsession outlasts obstacles, that hunger overpowers hesitation, that real power, true, grounded, earned power, cannot be faked, cannot be bought, and cannot be taken away. You keep winning like it's rigged because you made yourself undeniable, and the world doesn't know what to do with someone who refuses to be erased, someone who refuses to fade out quietly, someone who isn't waiting to be rescued or recognized, someone who has already written their name in legacy before the world had time to catch up. So let them say what they want. Let them label you arrogant. Let them say you got lucky. Let them call it unfair. Let them try to explain it away. Because deep down, they know. They know you're not supposed to be here, but you are. They know you weren't supposed to win, but you did. Again and again. And now they'll watch in silence as you keep doing it, as you keep showing up, as you keep building, as you keep pulling off what they swore was impossible. Because your grind doesn't need witnesses. Your greatness doesn't need approval. Your destiny doesn't require their blessing. So when they ask again, in that voice full of disbelief, how the hell do you keep pulling this off? You won't need to answer. Your actions will speak. Your presence will roar. Your wins, they will echo louder than any doubt ever dared to speak. And the truth will be undeniable. You keep winning because you refuse to stop, because you were never waiting for it to be easy, because you made a choice the world wasn't ready for, to become everything they said you couldn't. And now, they can't take it from you. Not ever. Not now. Not when you've earned it in silence and claimed it in storms. Because you keep winning like it's rigged, because it is. Rigged by your fire. Rigged by your fight. Rigged by your refusal to quit. And the world will have no choice but to watch you rise again and again and again. And now we arrive at the part they never see, the invisible weight, the toll, the inner war you fight when no one is looking. Because for every win they cheer, for every outcome they try to decode, there are 1,000 moments you stood in front of the mirror and asked yourself if it was even worth it. You've doubted, haven't you? Quietly, privately. You've sat in stillness while everything screamed at you to give in, to fold, to vanish into the sea of ordinary. But something inside you refused. That refusal, it's not arrogance, it's not ego, it's survival. It's the whisper that says, I didn't come this far to stop here. And that whisper is louder than their shouts. That whisper carries you across oceans of fatigue, deserts of doubt, mountains of pressure. That whisper becomes your compass. That whisper becomes your legacy. So while they scratch their heads, trying to figure out how you keep pulling this off, understand, it's never been about proving them wrong. That was never the goal. You weren't born to answer their questions. You were born to answer your calling. And your calling doesn't speak in applause. It speaks in alignment. It speaks in silence. It speaks in the unshakable knowing that you are exactly where you're meant to be, even when it hurts. Because here's the truth, they'll never fully grasp. You don't just win for yourself. You win for every version of you that cried, that crawled, that nearly gave up. You win for the younger you who doubted everything but dreamed anyway. You win for the future you, the one who will look back on this season and say, thank you for not breaking. Every time you succeed, it's a victory for all those invisible battles. It's not just a moment, it's a monument, a proof etched in time that you didn't fold under pressure. You formed under it. You didn't collapse, you calibrated. You didn't fall apart, you fell into place. And when people say, it's unfair, it must be rigged, they're right, but not in the way they think. It is rigged. Rigged by your suffering, rigged by your hunger.